And as I dig deeper into the lineage of music from all different parts of the country, it is always a revelation to discover someone or a band that you may not have been hip to before. Had a chance to interview a legendary drummer and musician in his own right, Russell Batiste, last week, and he dropped some knowledge on me about, again, the lineage of the Batiste family. And my next guest, somebody who was at the forefront of really the merging of what you might call rock and funk music. David Batiste, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Oh, good morning, Jake. As my dad would say, "Como se va?" and your answer would be "Sabai bien."
Sabai bien.
Yeah, that's the Cajun part of me. My father from New Iberia and Lafayette.
David, I kind of wanted to ask you about the exposure you might have had to the Sanctified Church of New Orleans or the Spirit Church.
It's a feel, man. I grew up, listening to various different artists, but one of the artists that I would hear live every Sunday morning was a lady by the name Mrs. McCrae, and she played the Hammond B3 for the church that was directly behind our house after we moved from in New Orleans out into Metairie. And the one of the most fantastic, soulfulest organists that I could ever talk about. You talk about people, great artists, like Jimmy Smith, Jimmy McDuff,
yeah, dude, this is unbelievable. Mrs. McCrae was soulful, man.
Oh, man, God. She had and her son, Frederick McCrae, played the keyboards. And it was so, God, it was just wonderful that I could say that God granted me the time to listen and hear and meet such wonderful people, human beings, and then artists that inspired me to play. And there's an artist by the name of Sammy Burfict out of New Orleans, which was another great church organist and performer. Because people talk about a lot of, in New Orleans, they're going to talk about James Booker. They're going to talk about Alan Toussaint. They're going to talk about people that through record deals and stuff made them prominent.
Right.
But they got the shadow people that you had.
This is dude. You are wait. Hold on. I want to be clear. Did Mrs. McCrae have a trap drummer with her, or was it just Hammond organ?
Just the Hammond organ.
Wow.
Boy, I forgot Mrs. McCrae's name, boy. But man, if you wanted to feel soul or somebody that would bring tears to your eyes by playing it, that was that lady. Huh. And as coming up, listening to them, they remember we were in our house, and the church, Rising Star Church, was right behind our house. And we hear them on Thursdays when they rehearse, and then we hear them on Sunday. Because she'd have the choir singing with her. And,
my God. This is unreal, man. Jesus.
I learned to sing a little bit, to hit some of them little soulful notes. Yeah, I listened. But I grew up playing music by ear. And I was so happy to hear that one of the ladies, she's like Mama Thornton, and back in those days in the 20s, 30s.
Sure, yeah.
She played the guitar, and she became famous. And she said, I taught myself, and once I got started, that's how I actually wanted to stay, because I thought if I started learning music, I'd start playing different, and I didn't want to change my sound. And so I said, wow, she's almost speaking for me.
Yeah.
That's how I started. I said, well, if I started playing those, I started out, now I'm in my 20s, and 30s. If I start even going, I did learn some. stuff.
I want to
And
just go
even
back. I want to go back for a second, just on your own. So I mean, you would sit outside and hear her, but
yes,
did you have any exposure to, you know, Melvin Lasty's church? I mean, I think he had a trap set on the stage. Cats were falling out of the pews. This to me is where the rubber meets the this, because I mean, there were cats that would go to church, and I don't know what
yes.
denomination it was, but the pastor was speaking Latin. It didn't make any sense. But then they'd go hear the rhythm, and that's what made sense. I just want you to talk about how close you came to that sanctified situation.
Yeah, so it was Miss McCrae because I was raised up in the Catholic Church,
Right.
which was totally different from the Sanctified or the Baptist Church. You know, they would go get it, man. And then you would go to the Catholic Church and everything was quiet and
Yeah, it was so freaking sterile and stuff, you know?
yeah, rigid and that sort of deal.
Right.
And then you get to come with your friend who's Baptist, and you see the people running around the church. I mean, for me, I used to, by being Catholic, I used to laugh. Me and my friend would snicker and laugh at it until I realized what was actually happening.
Huh.
Until God said, well, David, I'm going to show you. Your mother was a Baptist person, and she never played the piano. She never took music lessons, but she would sit at the piano with her Bible book and a music book, and would try her best to she had a third grade education,
Right.
sixth grade education,
Right.
and play music. So I had no idea that Mom, wanted, had that happening, because we were raised Catholic through my dad's religion, he was raised Catholic. And so we didn't want to do anything. No, we didn't. No, not we didn't want to. We didn't go to the Baptist church. So I couldn't tell you about nobody's Baptist church, to be honest with you.
I did know this is so brilliant. Your mom would be sort of singing spirituals, or would she be?
Yeah, spiritual hymns, trying to show us that as we practice and stuff. And we saw that, Mom, she don't play music for real. She just sitting at the piano that my father bought for her. That's a whole nother story. My father, from Lafayette in New Iberia, moved down to New Orleans on Camberon Street with his mother, Elizabeth. And when Dad would go to work, he would catch the streetcar, and then he would get off the streetcar, walk down historic Oak Street, and he would hear music, a lady playing the piano. And one day he asked this white lady, and then she had gone to be elderly, and said, if you ever decide to sell that piano, would you sell it to me? Now, this is 1945 or 44, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Wow.
And she sold my father that piano. He brought that piano from Oak Street to Camberon Street. And on my birth certificate in 1947 was the address 1301 Camberon Street. So I know after I came out, like Ernie Cato from New Orleans, I'm a Charity Hospital baby. As soon as I came out of Charity Hospital, I was brought to 1301 Camberon Street. Wow. That's in the Carrollton area. That's almost down where the streetcar line begins. It begins at South Claiborne and Carrollton, and we're about 8 blocks, between 5 to 8 blocks from the streetcar line, 2 blocks off of South Carrollton on Camberon Street.
Right.
And that's where I'm living now, on Camberon Street.
Wow.
Right down the street from the house that I pass every other day where I was born. And my father sold that house to his goddaughter's people. So we used to call them our cousins. So the house is almost still like in the family, because the people that we were raised with, they stay in the house. And So yeah, see, as I said, that's a whole nother story.
No, David,
That's
this is really interesting though. Like, would your dad? It's just so funny. I was thinking about this morning, but would your dad allow? I was thinking back to my interview with Bobby Womack, and Bobby and his brothers, when they were playing the blues, and their dad's like, "Get the heck out of here, man! Go out! You got to leave."
Put them out, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering. I mean, like, can you talk? Like, was blues allowed in your house with your brothers? How did you guys? Because I'm sure that your dad didn't want to hear that stuff in the house. He thought that was devil music.
I'm sorry to disappoint you. My father loved it.
That's freaking badass. That's so great, man.
My father loved it. He raised us. My father listened to "Raining in My House" by Lowell Folsom.
Oh my God.
My father listened to. He would say that. Look at my mama, and he would play "Honest I Do" by Jimmy Reed.
How did he justify to you? How did he justify to your brothers being a man of the church, Catholic Church, and listening? I mean, that was pervasive, that the blues was devil music. Like, how did, again, we know it to be soulful music and healing music. But when, like, how did he justify that to the people in his church? I mean, they must have been like, your boy shouldn't be listening to that stuff.
Yeah, well, Father at the church loved my dad. My dad used to drive the Sisters of the Holy Family from Lafayette to New Orleans. And one of my dad's sisters, Hazel, her daughter is named Sister John Marie. Huh. So I have a nun. We just went to our 75th commencement as being a nun. She's, I think Sister John Marie is 90 now. But my dad's sister had a daughter, and she became a nun.
Wow.
So that didn't bother us, man, because we knew it wasn't devil's music. It was music. You know, people listen to country. Well, my mama listened to Hank Williams. You're cheating heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I love this. Oh, my God, this is great.
Yeah, so I love that, man. You know, and Sonny Boy would come by my dad. If anybody remember Happy Days, my father, when we moved out of the city of New Orleans, I'm getting ahead of some of this, but I'll come back.
No, it's all a jam, yeah.
When we moved out of New Orleans, because I stayed in the lower Ninth Ward on Cloyd Street, and my dad had a store on Jackson Avenue, and then he had a store in Tremé, and so we were all part of New Orleans. Then we moved to the West Bank, a place called Red City. We stayed, the West Bank, the best bank. So we stayed there for a while. Then we migrated to Little Farms, which I learned how to shoot a rifle in Little Farms. Whoa. That's how country Little Farms was, outside of the city of New Orleans, in Metairie.
God.
Yeah, I became a marksman, man.
Dude, you are the gladiator, man. This is unreal, man.
So I learned that from John J. Jeffrey Batiste Sr. Everybody's seen John Batiste, my little nephew, at the White House and all these different places with his mother's father. That's not the gentleman that brought music into the Batiste family. My dad. And my dad, in fact, my brother James put out a short film called A Stranger Story. That's out right now. Spotify, YouTube channel, and it's a short story about my father, about John J. Jeffrey Batiste, and you'd be surprised to have music in it, and it's telling a story. But I'm not gonna tell you about the video. I mean, it's a short 15-minute film.
No, people need to go check it out. I think it's.
Go check it out. It's A Stranger Story. You're going to love it. It's been nominated for stuff already. The Batiste brothers did the soundtrack.
David, David, I gotta ask you, just because I've been fascinated about this. In that, can you talk about some of the? I mean, who would you consider to be? Again, would you say that there was guys like Dave Bartholomew, Earl Palmer. Were they your elders? Who were your elders in the music scene? And I recognize that the Gladiators were made up of the family band, but who were some of the R&B and soul cats who were already cooking the groove? I mean, because here's the thing. They talk about the David Batiste and the Gladiators being a forerunner of funk rock music, but nobody called the music funk. Someone might say, "Hey, let's play a funky blues," but that word didn't exist in the lexicon at that time. There was R&B.
Right.
So I'm just curious about.
Right.
I mean, obviously everybody knows Dyke and the Blazers, Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. They were not New Orleans based. Who in New Orleans were the greasy R&B cats that you were checking out? That were your elders.
Just for FYI, our song, the second song I put out a song called "Cut Out 6 Watt High Step."
Yeah, I was listening to that with my daughters today. It's just such a funky tune, man.
And we did Funky Soul, Part 1 and Part 2. That was the first time a song had been named after the genre of music, funk. Funky Soul.
Unbelievable, dude. Right, yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's right. Wow.
A whole new groove that people were actually taking and stealing from. If PM Dawn, the rappers PM Dawn on their Bliss album that made it the number one, PM Dawn, so on and so on. Patient Eyes was the hit of the PM Dawn album. The next song was called "So On and So On" by PM Dawn and David Batiste and the Gladiators. You got to listen to the song "So On and So On," and then you listen to "Funky Soul" by David Batiste with the song that they sampled to put into their rap song. We were one of the pioneers too against the sampling music.
I mean,
everybody think about the meters, but Funky Soul was sampled before any of them other songs got sampled.
No, this is why it's such an honor to talk to you, man. Because you know what? Even like James Brown, everybody, Sly Stone, they think in the West Coast that they were the godfathers of funk. It was actually a guy named Johnny Talbot. There's always somebody before. And you guys were before. Now, let's just talk about the groove, man. I mean, how innocent. You're talking about the groove being different. Funky soul was birthed at that time. Was that something that you guys as a rhythm section just subconsciously put into the song? How did it all... I mean, this to me is music history because you're right. It's the first time... I mean, Cannonball Adderley he was playing Mercy, 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 or, you know, they play they'd say, "Oh, let's play a funky blues," but like funk music started with David Batiste and the Gladiators.
We put the name out there and we backed it up.
But it wasn't like you guys were intellectualizing it when you were cutting the track. I mean, can you just talk?
Well, you know what we did. How funky soul? We always had. We were a number one, what you call show band.
Right.
All of the bands from Chocolate Milk that came out of New Orleans and the rest of them, they'll tell you we wanted to emulate David Batiste and the Gladiators because we were absolutely wild.
Oh my God, this is unreal.
That's where the rock part came in. You know, Ratcliffe kick a hole in the drums, push the drums over. Paul would have the guitar with feedback coming out. The people hollering and screaming. I would take my 4-piece organ, lay it down on the floor, and be stand over it and be playing. You know, somebody would run up to the stage and put a shot of Jack Daniels on. We were absolutely crazy, man. You know, and the people loved us for that. They loved that. You know, we didn't act snobbish. We didn't have our nose turned up.
I love this. Dude.
Yeah, everybody loved it, man. The gay people loved us. The hardcore, us, everybody loved. The pimp loved us. Everybody,
absolutely.
We were natural, and that feeling of soul. I would tell the people, come closer to the stage. I want you to feel a band, feel that funk.
Thank you, brother. God, thank you, man.
Yep.
You're telling me that you were a show band playing original tunes, or were you basically playing the top?
Right, original music. Yeah, people that hadn't heard of funky soul before. You know, even when we did Freeze, we mixed that. That was the part of, from David Batiste and the Gladiators to the Batiste brothers. The Batiste brothers were formed out of David Batiste and the Gladiators. When the band started out, my band was called King David and the Gladiators. There was no other Batiste in the band except myself.
I want to know who was in that band. Who was in that band?
Gerald Cheatham played bass. He's a pastor now at a big church in Hammond. I was just with him at a funeral of another fellow musician who passed away.
Yep.
A guy by the name of Edgar Peterson. His name was Dap. Dap was black as midnight. His teeth was pearly white. He had a process that he never kept up. He always had it tied with a red do-rag around his head. and he worked for the railroad.
Oh, my God, dude.
He sounded like Ray Charles, man, playing the guitar. That's who taught Paul Batiste how to play guitar, bro. Dap. Edgar Peterson.
Oh, my God.
And how Edgar heard the band is, as I said, if you remember Happy Days, my father had a little sweet shop in a grocery store where people would come congregate to.
Absolutely.
And
what was the name of the store?
Elm Street Hardware and Grocery.
That is so. It was like a soda fountain shop.
Somewhat like that.
Yeah.
Because my dad's. We was a grocery store too. We sold groceries. We helped the neighborhood.
That is so beautiful, man.
The neighborhood loved my father, man.
Dude,
him and my mother, they'd give people credit for food. People would talk to me, man, they cried when my father passed. This is hard, bro.
Yeah, man, I wanted you doing a heck of it. So with King David and the Gladiators, you had you had Cheatham on, you had bass player.
Gerald Cheatham on bass.
Gerald Cheatham.
Edgar Peterson on guitar.
Worked on the railroad. Yep, got it.
And a guy by the name of George McGee was my first drummer.
Oh my God! Is there
George McGee came from the Sanctified Church, man. He would put a hole through the foot pedal for the bass drum.
Absolutely. This is what I'm talking about, dude. Yes.
A fight would break out. If you seen Animal House, that song that make me want to shout.
The Shamalama Ding Dong, yeah, dude.
They must have stole that from us, bro, because we didn't know it before that.
What kind of, at that point, yeah, go ahead.
So with my dad, buying that piano, he bought that piano for my mother. And my mother, as I said, she had 7 of us, 7 boys. And we'd all sit around Mom sometime and watch her try and play the piano, that piano my father bought, and hum a little bit or try and sing a little bit of those gospel songs. So flash Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
After Hurricane Katrina, looking for work as a musician, I wind up playing for the Jerusalem Church of God in Christ for almost 5 years as the organist and then the part choir director. I never in my life played that kind of music. I had to learn it. And learning the gospel music and having young, wonderful gospel people help me through, and my lady's mother Clara Hunter. She told me, she said, because I played for her celebration at the church, and she said, David, you can help us with this. You can be our organist. And I said, okay. I'll give it a try, but I was scared, man. I was actually scared to actually try and play gospel. When I seen people like Sammy Burfick and James Book, some of these other great keyboard players played for the church.
Right.
And and at the time, Raymond Miles, God bless his soul, he's in heaven right now.
I love this, dude.
Yeah, and so people like that. So I would mimic, because I learned to play by ear. I would mimic learning those songs like Sammy would play it, or like Raymond would play it. And you play it with your heart and your soul, and you learn it. You ain't about showing all this other kind of stuff. You actually play to the best of your ability, And I played for God and Christ, man, in the church. You know, I didn't come as David Batiste, the entertainer, the showman. I was just a church organist. You know, and I helped them get the Jerusalem Church of God and Christ. I helped them get one of the churches here in New Orleans. I helped them get their first Hammond B3. I say, get the best organ. That's what Miss Maxine. That's what I heard behind the house.
Absolutely. Miss McCrary? Miss McCrary?
Yeah, Miss
McCray. Man, she was the Listen, I mean, when you, being that you guys were, David, I just want to ask you, because I've done enough.
That's so much, man. That's what I'm saying. We don't have enough time. That's so much.
Well, no, but I mean, this is only set one. I mean, we cannot possibly do it all in one set. But
right, and hey, bro, because the story of us, David Batiste and the Gladiators, winning first place at the Apollo Theater in 1965.
How did you get that gig?
My father. My dad was a genius. My father met my mother in New York during wartime. They got married. My older brother was born in New York. They used to hang out at the Apollo with Louis Jordan and Cab Calloway and the Nicholas brothers. My aunt married.
Oh my God, that's insane.
You know, so when we went to my oldest brother John was in the military, and he was going to serve at Otis Air Force Base in Boston. My father took all of us out of school, said, we're going to take your older brother off to go serve in the Army in 65 and serve in the Air Force in 65. And my dad pulled us out of school, and we drove in 2 cars from New Orleans to New York.
Holy cow.
Having no idea that my father was going to have us, and he brought 2 of my neighbors. Remember, King David and the Gladiators, the drummer was named George McGee.
I got you.
George McGee had a brother. And come to find out, it was called the McGee Brothers.
Whoa.
And they sound like the 5 Blind Boys of Alabama. You know, they sound like the Mighty Clouds of Georgia.
Sure.
Jesus. William sounded like Sam Cooke singing. So now, and William had joined the band. I hired Williams. And then George McGee, the original drummer, George actually married Barbara George from New Orleans. Barbara George had a hit called I Know.
Wow.
And George married, I know, you don't love me no more. No, that George married Barbara George. And when George left, George helped. I was searching for a good drummer. And our drummer wound up being one of the funkiest drummers on the planet. His name is Stanley Ratcliffe. And you could ask Stanton Moore from Galactic, who's supposed to be a premier drummer and funk drummer, who used to stay at my house with my son Russell. We used to hang out, and the police was called to my house for all the banging and booming. That was Stanton Moore and Russell Batiste. So
you get first of all, how was the drive up there? Was that a smooth trip? I mean, that's an interesting trip.
No, it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't. I was 17 years old, and I just got my driver's license. Failed the test the first time. Went back and took it again. The guys were kind. And remember, the relationships. The white guy at the driver's license place, he told me, David, go back and take the test again and then come see me.
Right.
I had to study more, a couple of weeks or whatever, at 17, and I went back and I passed the test. I had to drive the car too and all that. My father taught me how to drive. So I had to drive the car and everything. And I got my license. So now Dad says, we're driving John to New York. He bought another little extra car. We had a 1957 Plymouth that my dad bought, brand new. And we had a second car that was maybe a Ford station wagon.
Right.
I forgot what year it was, but it was full speed. Stick on the steering wheel.
Wow.
He had a V8 engine.
Whoa.
I used to scratch the tires on that thing, bro. Oh, man. So we had to drive to New York. If anybody remember 1965 for black people,
Dude, that's what I'm asking about, man. That was the height of it. God, man.
Yeah, bro, they had the March to Selma was going on. Malcolm X had gotten killed. 2 cars of black people driving from New Orleans to New York. We got stopped by everybody that was racist on the planet. It seemed like.
I knew this. That's but that's the thing. I want the grace of your father, because I mean,
Yes.
I've talked to so many. I mean, the meters got pulled over, but they'd recognize Art Neville. They'd make him sing "Chaduki Doo." I mean, but your dad, like the grace and the leader, like how did he keep
He
you?
was smooth, man.
I know he must have been the smoothest operator ever, dude.
Yeah, if you look at him in the picture, he looked like he could have been Billy D. Williams. Right?
Oh my God, dude! Oh
And he spoke
man!
he spoke that French.
Oh.
How you know you about to swept my mother off her feet? But it wasn't my mom. My mom had 7 other beautiful sisters, and my dad went there to meet one of the other sisters. And the sister went in the back, and my mom saw my dad. My dad saw my mom, and they left. When the sister came out, they were gone.
You got to get them while they're there, man. Don't leave.
Yeah, she swooped my dad up, and that off they went. And so my dad would tell me the story. If you see the 7 other beautiful sisters that my mom had, you walk in there and go, oh, hell, I'm in the harem. Oh wow. And they had that southern Georgia accent from Georgia. So,
dude, dude. So I just want to be clear. Somehow you guys make it, even though you were pulled over by every racist cop.
Okay, yeah. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So from New Orleans to Alabama, they thought we were freedom riders going to the March to Selma.
Right.
My daddy said, no, we're on the way to take my son to serve in the military. And then from passing D.C. to Virginia, they thought we were Muslims going up to be in New York to be a part of the Malcolm X situation.
Understand.
Malcolm X.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but my dad got us through that. My dad made an illegal turn on the New Jersey Turnpike. And the guy came, he had to go back. And the guy said, "What your ticket is?" And my dad looked at my mom and said, "Oh, Stella, that must have been that flew out the window, huh?" What they gonna do? He said, "You selling us?"
I love it.
I was 17 years old. I was standing there listening to it. And I also saw my dad get talked down by a younger white boy in Virginia. He pulled over with that old broken taillight thing. And my dad said, "Okay, I'm going to go over and get it fixed." He said, "No, boy, you're going to get that fixed now." And, man, I was 17 years old, and I wanted a piece of him.
Absolutely.
But he's dressed down with a gun and everything else. Finally, we made it to New York, and in one car, because in Roanoke, Virginia, and 5 foot of snow, the car broke down, the second car.
What, the V8 one?
Yeah.
The V8?
Yeah. It broke. The universal joint broke. We didn't even know it was an easy fix, but we didn't know it.
You left it there, yeah.
Left it on the side of the road, had to take my Horner keyboard and my set of drums, because Ratcliffe didn't even have a set of drums. They were playing on my drum. And George McGee gave the sticks to Ratcliffe.
Right.
But before Ratcliffe, the superstar Robert Griffin III, the young quarterback, was that young that had all the rave for a time and played for the
I remember him, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so his grandfather was the first drummer that played with me that had his own drum.
Wait, hold on. Going back to King David, he was before McGee?
Yeah.
What was his name? Robert Williams? Just his name? Robert. That was his.
No. His name was John Ross.
Oh my!
But
what year? By the way, what year is this? 58 or what? What was the first year of King David?
1962, 63.
Holy cow! Radcliffe is going up. He's got sticks. He's got. He borrowed the trap set, but ultimately, did your dad have connections in Harlem? I don't feel like you guys could have just.
Yeah. There you go. My dad kept telling us. We had one every talent show here in the city of New Orleans, by the way, from college to high school to everything else.
Yeah.
So after they start winning, they start making a special guest.
I did.
But my dad, we didn't say, okay, Dad, we want to go to play the Apollo Theater. We weren't going to do that. We didn't even know we was going to do that, man. my dad said, bring William and bring Ratcliffe. So Ratcliffe came and William came. So the band was on in three pieces. Me on keyboards, Paul on guitar, Stanley Ratcliffe on drums,
wow.
and William McGee was the vocalist. And so we auditioned. We played about 25 or 30 seconds of our song called Do You Feel All Right? As I said, if you saw Animal House and Otis Day and the Nights, You Make Me Want to Shout, our song was called Do You Feel All Right? The same environment, the same
groove.
reaction.
Yeah.
Same groove.
Yeah.
And we start off with so Paul was so talented, my young brother, who had learned from Edgar Peterson from DAP. Paul could play bass and guitar. So Paul played bass, I played the keyboards, Ratcliffe played the drums, and William sung. And we played, and the guy said, how soon can y'all go on? And my dad was in control. He said, whenever,
Yeah.
So B.B. King's cousin had been winning for the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And so he said, okay, we're going to put y'all on. So that's how we got it. My dad kept saying, well, I knew this one-armed guy in the 40s when me and your mama used to come to the Apollo, a one-armed guy. And so my dad talked to somebody, and they knew the one-armed guy. And so they got us a chance to audition, because you just couldn't walk in and play out the Apollo.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
So we passed the audition.
You said it was were you playing left-hand bass? Was there enough punch in the left hand with no bass player?
Yeah, I was playing bass on the keyboard, yes.
Yeah.
So when we but for the song, Paul played actual bass guitar, borrowed the bass guitar.
He played bass guitar. Interesting.
Yeah, Paul played the bass guitar, I played the keyboards, Brad was on the drums, and we didn't have a guitar player because Paul had to switch from playing guitar to bass.
Absolutely.
And so once we kicked off the song, bro, the Apollo theaters went just like the people in the fraternity house.
Animal House, dude. Oh my, dude, give me. I need. Oh man.
And we would go. We would break. Tell me, do you feel all right? Do you feel all right? Do you feel all right? You know you make me want it. That was it. And then after that, the house band, Jerry Butler was on the show. He had a left-handed guitar player. He started playing rhythm guitar. Getting the horns kicked in.
No way.
And the Apollo Theater was turned out.
Oh my!
It was turned out.
Jerry Butler's band came. So you guys basically were kicking a big band up there.
We had the orchestra behind us.
Holy shit!
They were standing there. They couldn't wait. We were just doing so good. Just the three of us, me, Ratcliffe, and Paul, and William singing, until they had to play. They had no choice.
David, how come this is like so? So I mean, like, let me ask you a question. Like, how did you have an opportunity? I mean, there are cats that do like DJ sets in LA and they call it Funky Soul, but they spell it SOLE. This is like the 45s you've made are like iconic. How come?
Yes.
Was there ever an opportunity? But this is before the Batiste brothers. But with the Gladiators, did you ever? Right. Was there ever an opportunity to cut a full-length LP?
Yeah, well, our producer at that time was I'm not gonna say what I call him, but I'm gonna just say his name was Isaac Bolin. We were doing a lot. Man, I got the hidden songs of David Batiste and the Gladiators. They have about 4 or 5 songs that would make up our album that we're trying to put together now.
Oh, wait. Hold on. These are songs that you created back then that never saw the light of day.
Right.
Oh, my God.
Right. And they are in L.A. because that's a whole another story. Because the hidden songs from Alan Toussaint that was found in the vault in L.A. that everybody was talking about, in that vault also were songs from David Batiste and the Gladiators that the producer and another person were doing some stuff. They got me, bro. That's all I can say. They got me.
I just want to be clear. These cats were shysters. They ripped you off.
They got me. It's a fact. When facts are facts, you see facts. You know, they got me. You know, they got me. They took by getting me. That means they took from Russell. They took from Damon. But I fought myself too. And my father, he didn't have any music education stuff about knowing about publishing and the ownership of the stuff.
That's right.
All those things. Yeah, we were just great young musicians. Wanted to enjoy that. The people love our music, love what we were creating. We always would just create music. And when you create music and it sounds good to people, it's good entertainment.
Well, you were playing raunchy rock and soul music. This was not
mixed together.
Exactly. No, I mean I just want to be clear. Did you go to Cosmo Studios, cut a bunch of tunes, and then they disappeared, or only a couple came out?
There you go. It came out of your mouth.
So but then somehow in the vaults, how recently were these uncovered in L.A.?
About 3 years ago, because I re-released Funky Soul.
Right.
On my publishing company. If you go look up, you're going to see a whole bunch of Funky Souls that people got out there. But you're going to see one that was published by David Batiste, by Funky Soul Publishing LLC. That's me. I re-put it out there, brother. See who else. My song is on so many genres of people, and I'd be a billionaire if I'd have the money from all the people that stole and used my song Funky Soul Part 1 and Part 2. And there's another song, bro, called Funky Hips. It was in the movie. I found it, in the movie called Club overseas.
Yeah, sure. You're telling. So I mean, this is very common, but at the time, nobody, including your father, I mean, nobody was aware of publishing at that time, is what you're saying.
Except the guys that would bring you to the Cosmo studio.
Except for the shyster, except for those cats, yeah.
They'd bring you to the Cosmo and you'd make all this wonderful music and stuff, and you just, hey man, I'm happy to be in the studio, I remember recording with the great James Rivers. I did a song with him at Cosmo Studio.
Oh my God.
We did the answer to Mr. Big Stuff by Gene Knight. We did a version of that with a guy by the name of Tiki Man. I'm Mr. Big Stuff. We did that. That was part of David Batiste and the Gladiators, bro.
I just want to be clear. When you played the Apollo, that I'm not going to say that was national news, but that word got back. I mean, that puts you on the map at that point.
Bro, we wiped B.B. King's cousin out.
Holy.
He's been winning for the last 4 weeks, bro. Here is the hook to that story. My father took all 7 of his sons out of school. We had to come back to New Orleans. And on the way coming back to New Orleans, in in Montgomery, we got pulled over again, coming through Alabama. I jumped out the first car to go give my dad the registration because I had it in this car to give him to the other car. As I was trying to give it to my dad, the police grabbed me in the collar, slammed me up against the car, put the gun inside my head, called me all kind of N-words you can think of, and I knocked the gun out of his face, because he was trembling like Barney Fife from Andy Griffith.
Absolutely.
I just took the gun and knocked it out of my face. And then he kept on swearing at me. And right down the block, they had another cop. And my dad screamed at me in the car, "David, get your ass back in the car." And as I walked back to the car, I was more scared of my dad than this white boy with the gun.
Right.
And so as I walked out there, he followed me back to the car. N-word, you better get out of here, and you better not even look in the mirror until you get out of town. And I drove straight, bro. I didn't look in the mirror. I didn't look at that. I got the fuck out of here. I didn't do that. I got out, and far enough I had to pull on the side of the road and wait for my dad and them, because we knew the route was coming back. And that was one of the adventures of David Batiste and the Gladiators. When we got to Mobile, the other car broke down again. We had to leave the car in Mobile. This time, 10 people had to come back in one car from Mobile to New Orleans. And the white guy told him, told my dad, because me and William, my dad said, well, David, you and William and Paul stay in. You and William, and William, he had to get back to William McGee, the singer, the gospel singer.
Yeah.
I got to get back because he married Russell's mother's sister. So he came back. He had to get back to New Orleans. Ratcliffe said, I'm going back. So me and Paul was going to stay. And the white guy told my dad, said, yeah, bro, you may find your car, but you ain't going to find these boys. I would take them with you.
Wow.
So my dad, all 10 of us got in the car and drove from Mobile back to New Orleans.
How did he get the new car? Because you only had one car, broke down.
Yeah, my dad had a cousin in New York. They had a repair shop.
Wow.
And we got another little car.
You got another car, then you packed 10 deep in that car. Oh, my God.
Another Oldsmobile. Clarence, he bought that for my cousin Clarence. Yeah, Clarence told my dad the car that only made it for us to Mobile.
I want you to just be as honest as you can, because you talk about the pretentious nature of music sometimes, especially certain genres of music. You guys are kicking it, getting people loose, playing this funky rock music. But this other side of the family that I still can't exactly figure out how you're related to them, Harold Batiste, All for One Records. What was your belief about jazz? Did you think jazz was too uptight, or did you actually dip your toe in the water with that kind of music too?
Only kind of jazz I listened to, bro, was Jimmy Smith, Jimmy Mac. I didn't really like jazz. I wasn't raised to jazz.
You were deep into the soul bag.
Yeah, I was raised off of Jimmy Reed, and I thought that was soulful. Ray Charles, stuff like Sticks and Stones. Boy, that was fire. You know, What I Say by Ray Charles. I listened to that. Yeah, but I would listen to Take Five. I would listen to.
I guess maybe would you go to Hayes' Chicken Shack and see Coltrane and Elvin at all?
No, I would go. The person I would see would be. I didn't go now. I said I wasn't into jazz.
I knew. I did. I knew it. I knew this, brother. It's so all good. I mean, so were you going to see? I don't even who were some of Earl King? Who were the blues?
Yeah, there you go. I would see Earl King, Oliver and the Rockettes, the Del Rey.
Oh, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. The
Aubrey Twins. They had people like George French playing with them. You know, the great bass player George French.
Unbelievable bass player, dude. Yeah.
People like Alvin Thomas playing trumpet. You got John Longo playing trumpet. But they were playing soul music. But every now and then they'd do some jazz in it, but it was so soulful and shit and stuff. Excuse me, language. That's what I listened to. That's what I listened to. And every now and then I would go listen to the Richard Knox, and Richard had a group called Sticks and Fingers, where it was just him. He played the bass with left hand and his foot.
Oh my God!
Yeah, Richard Knox, bro. I'm saying y'all talking about people that Darvell Crawford and all those other people, those young guys learn after watching people like that, man, and listening to people, and they were so kind and sharing their talent. You know, you could go to Sammy, and Sammy would sit down, and Sammy was one of the inspirations that pushed me to play "Ain't No Way" by Aretha Franklin on the Hammond B3. He said that, David, I'm sitting in the audience, and you playing that, bro. You are bringing people to tears, and I want to. Then he would play it a little bit. Then I would learn what he was doing, add it to that, and then I'd play the melodica that John.
Oh my God! Are you kidding? Do you have any? I need to hear that. You have any recordings of you playing melodica?
Let's see. Yeah, I got something. Well, I got a little funk thing that I did here recently. I did the Watermelon Man on the melodica, and with a little funky version with my son Ryan on drums and another guy. So I'd have to go inside and pull that up. But that's what I would do. But I'd start off playing on the organ, and then I'd switch to playing it, doing the solo on the melodica. And as the people are hollering and screaming, I'll just walk out the club and don't come back. Walk out, get in my car and drive.
Yeah,
off.
that is so. Wait, what about
yeah. Screaming at the door. He said, "Come back!" I'm gone.
Dude, that is so freaking. What about Deacon Jones? Did you know that cat?
Yeah, Deacon. Yeah, that's from that. Yeah, I miss Deacon. Yeah, Deacon Jones was another one you would go watch. Warner Williams and the Arbiteers.
Yes.
Warner played with, he played with Armin Thomas for a long time.
Wow.
And he had his brother, Warner and his brother, and Deacon John and his brother.
God, Deacon John, rest in peace, man. God, what a badass that dude was.
Yeah, oh, man, yeah. Deacon John sung for Joe Cool Davis' funeral, bro. And I'll say, I said this. Look at Deacon. That boy. He sung a song at Joe Cool Davis' funeral, bro. That was all you can say. That's Deacon John. Yeah, one of the best that do it. One of the best that would inspire you to do it. I remember Deacon would get, when psychedelic music came out and stuff, Deacon would be dressed like Hendrix and tied around his head and playing the guitar, bro. And we would watch that and watch Deacon. Ratcliffe and I, more than any of my brothers, Ratcliffe and I would go around. He was better known as Rat, but Rat and I would run around.
Rat.
R-A-T, Rat.
Oh, I love it, man. This is sick.
Ask Stanton more about Ratcliffe, bro. Rat, bro.
Yeah.
And we would get into more. We get into more mischief. Me and Ratcliffe, more than my brother, by swimming in the Mississippi River, diving off a 20-foot pier into the river. Oh. I played Tarzan. I'm diving off this pier into the river, Robert Ratcliffe. But they help you macho yourself up as a man. Because Ratcliffe Stone, full man. And I appreciate him and love him as and Ratcliffe, we played on the football team, bro. Paul Batiste, who played guitar, Ratcliffe, who played drums, and myself, we won the junior high championship football,
Oh, my God.
I was the quarterback. Paul was the fullback. Ratcliffe, with his narrow ass, was actually the center. But we were badass, bro.
Dude, I cannot even imagine
we went to Ralph J. Bunch Junior High School, which was the first black junior high school in our area. There was no more black junior high, so we had to play high school football teams from far as Baton Rouge, from New Orleans to St. Tammany Parish. We had to play some of the best and the biggest. The first year we played, we lost every game. The second year, we won the championship. Grambling wanted to take me, Southern wanted to take me, some of the other schools wanted to put, But at 17, after coming back from winning the Apollo Theater, I married Russell's mother. And William McGee, who was at the Apollo Theater with me, he married Russell's mother's sister.
Okay, so he calls you dad, but you're not his biological dad.
Who, Russell?
Yeah.
I'm his biological father, right? Yeah.
You are, so he wasn't, so he...
Russell was born in 1965, bro.
Beautiful. Okay, so that he wasn't alive when you married his mom. You just, then Russell...
Right, he came 9 months after I married his mother.
This is really...
And his sister came 9 months after he came. They're going to be 57 years old together for a whole month.
All right, now, first of all, that dude, it has music, like, coming out of his soul. Like, that, Russell's just I want to ask you about this cat.
Russell was playing at 9 months old, man.
I know. He's
a miracle to me. Ratcliffe, he sat on Ratcliffe's lap, and Ratcliffe gave my son that soul. Ratcliffe told me, say, David, watch Russell. He can play. And at 12 months, Russell was trying to play the drums, standing up, playing the football and the kit. 12 months old. I'm just watching him myself. I'm enjoying him like the people watching it. And then here come Damon. Damon seeing all his attention is being paid to his older brother. Then Damon started playing the congas and the kit.
Who? Tell me about Tell me about Herbert Wing.
See, all those people, man. I played. We came off of Elm Street in a place called Little Farm.
Yeah.
And we had to play our way out of the suburbs into the city of New Orleans.
That is fascinating.
And so all these people, you could I don't know none of them. I didn't follow none of them.
Right. So basically, like, I just want to be clear. There, people were like, "Who are these suburban guys?" And you're like, "We had to play our way into the city."
Right. Well, that's Ratcliffe. That's Paul Batiste. That's Peter Batiste. Michael, John Batiste's father. You know, as I said, Gerald Cheatham taught Michael how to play bass.
Right.
You know, and then and Dap too, because Dap played guitar and bass. And when we would come to the house to play with me, my brothers would be there, and they'd sit down and learn. You know. And these guys were very humble and kind, and they would let them just play the instruments and just until they learned how to play and became super fast, you know. So, and we would just go. You had people like Sammy Risley, Tommy Risley, you know. We'd go watch them. They had bad musicians playing with them, bro. People that that y'all never probably even heard of.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
These guys were pioneers setting up. Tommy Risley had some of the best playing with him, bro. When Ratcliffe left us, Ratcliffe started playing with Tommy Risley. And you just don't play with Tommy Risley, bro. You got to be that good.
Yeah,
right?
Dude. Wait, is Radcliffe still with us, or has he left us?
He's still with us, bro. We just played at one of our friend's funeral.
Dude.
Ratcliffe, myself, John Batiste's dad, Michael, and my brother Peter. We played at a guy by the name of Gordon Gabriel.
I cannot. I would give anything to be. I mean, rest in peace. But I would do anything to see that band.
Yeah, bro. Oh, listen. Well, we just did something recently with, I would say, 90% of David Batiste and the Gladiators. Because I was there. So I'm the leader. So that.
Well, I mean, you are the. I mean, you're the lead.
I've had different other gladiators, but I brought Joe Salisbury, the saxophone player that played on Funky Soul.
Yes.
Freddie Alonzo, the trombone player that played on Funky Soul. And Michael, he came to the set. And I just did it at this past Jazz, the biggest Thursday of Jazz Fest history, in the history of the Jazz Fest. David Batiste and the Gladiators were a part of it. And that was Russell, Ryan, Jamal, and Damon. My 4 sons and myself, and I had Marius Tilton on bass, Marcel, Anton on guitar, and Frank Ball on guitar. And then I had a Japanese American, African American, because her mother is from Japan, a young girl by the name of Fume on trumpet. In fact, on alto, I had to play Mercy, Mercy. I haven't doing that. Mercy, Mercy Me, and also I had Fume playing.
Compared to what?
Soul Serenade. So by
Horace Silver, man.
Yeah, Soul Serenade. But see, they got a commercial right now with that Memphis Soul Stew.
Oh my God!
If you don't remember Memphis Soul Stew, by the client, I guess I'm having an old man moment right now. Who played? Who inspired her to do the song that I said, well, we're gonna have her do something special, and she's a learning student. Fume must be 20 now, somewhere in the neighborhood, and I have picked them out of college to come play. And so the young musicians, and I had no idea that they said, hey, man, we want to play with you, Mr. Batiste. And then something else, bro. I taught music and was a partial choir director from a school that was named after me, the first African-American man living in this area, in this state, to have a school in the South Dr. Batiste Cultural Arts Academy.
That, dude, God bless you, brother. That is so beautiful, man.
And also with that, I was invited, and I was a special guest of Michelle Obama with 7 kids I brought from the school to sing at the White House. For the biggest thing that they did when Michelle was leaving was the White House Talent Show 2016, and it's on YouTube.
This is unbelievable, dude.
If you scan all the way to the end of it, you see the kids come up with the Argyle sort of vest. And we say we wanted to dress like Mr. Batiste because he always dressed sharp. So we got him some vests, and you hear a young lady walk up and say, "My piano teacher, Mr. Batiste, tells me that I could do this and I could do that." And the theme of the White House Talent Show was Everyday People by Sly.
Of course.
And we closed it out. My children closed it out. The 7 kids, they had a special thing they did at the end, telling about everyday people. One talked about a grandfather, one talked about that, and then one talked about me. And we did. I was sitting right next to Michelle in the White House, in that great room where everybody comes to.
I know that room. Yeah, that is, dude. You made it to. That's like. I just want to be clear about something.
Go ahead.
Were you, in the mid to late '60s? Like, what were you? Did you keep the band together, or after you had gotten ripped off by those shysters, did you kind of go?
Yeah, because we still was playing, but we still love playing music.
Sure.
All that stuff was going on around us, and we didn't know. I didn't know. I loved it. When I remember getting my first copy of Funky Soul from the producer, I still didn't know that. I thought I was getting. Me and him made a deal. We're gonna do 50-50.
Right.
So I'm thinking 50-50 of everything. He's thinking, I'm going to give you the writer's part, but you don't know about publishing. I'm going to keep the publishing. The publishing is the ownership of this stuff.
Right.
And you're going to think, wow, I got my name on the record as a writer, and you're going to get a little something, but you're giving away your ownership, and you don't know it. So that's why I told the lawyer, I said, a meeting of the minds are 2 people that agree on the same thing. They don't try and... There's no underhanded stuff that's going on behind that. There's everybody know about everything. So if I knew that, hey, when you sign and give this thing, your publishing, part of your publishing away, you're giving part of your ownership of your record away. We didn't know that. My father didn't know it. I didn't know it. My mother didn't know it.
I was curious about whether it was ever... were you part of the Black Union? Was there any education there? Or
yes, I was in a musician union. Yes, for sure, bro. I am still in the musician.
Absolutely,
union.
But even at that time, nobody was there to pull your coat.
No, right. Nobody really. All you was in the musician union to play in places that was controlled by the union. Certain places you had to have a certain amount of members, and all of them had to be union members, such as the ILA Auditorium, where I played with Pigmeat Markham. I played with Miles Nately.
That's what I'm talking about. This is what I want to know.
Johnny Adams.
Yes.
That's another one, Johnny Adams.
Oh, my God. Here we go. Pigmeat Markham.
Yeah. Here comes the judge.
Would you consider it at a certain point, like, even though you were just playing music, were you getting called for studio dates outside of the Gladiators? Like, were you just becoming a keyboard session cat for certain people?
As I said, I did one with James Rivers.
Right.
Another one with Tiki Man. My brother Paul did a lot of recording because he recorded on Chicken Strut with the Meters and a couple other songs. But we were united as a band, so we never got those calls to go out and become studio musicians.
I dig.
We started traveling, bro. When King Floyd had the song "Groove Me,"
yeah,
we were the band. David Batiste and the Gladiators. I played football with King Floyd. We played against each other.
Oh my God! What was he, a linebacker? What was he, man?
He was a quarterback.
So the quarterback duel was King Floyd versus David Batiste.
Yeah.
Holy.
And Pop won the football at playground. Yeah. And
that might be the greatest story I've ever heard, by the way. I mean, that is unbelievable.
He was good, too. King Floyd was actually good.
Oh, I bet he was pretty good.
And look, Robert Griffin III, John Ross, who played football with us. That's why Robert Griffin played so good, because his grandfather was like that.
Yeah, man, he was like a shooting star. I wish he had a little more. Got injured too much, you know.
Yeah, right.
Hey, listen, before we wrap up set one, I want you to talk about the experience in the late 70s. I've been looking for clips online, but I cannot find them. This late 70s tenure that you had with the Meters and you also played on Saturday Night Live. I can't find any of that stuff. But can you just...
I got a copy. It's on my Facebook page on David Batiste, and the copy, the whole song. I got to get my name up in lights with the Meters. He's on Facebook.
That basically was like Arthur was like not feeling well and was like David was the fourth. Like, how did that work? How did you wind up joining the group? There was, I mean, you were just
what happened to me, bro, is I met Leo Nocentelli and Zigaboo, Joseph Miles, the drummer for the Meters. I met them on the Strip, a place called Mason's Motel. That's where you have a restaurant, you have a motel. That's where James Brown and Jackie Wilson and all the African American stars who couldn't stay in white hotels, they would come on South Claiborne. That they call it the Strip. They
stay at Mason's.
A lot of restaurants, and Mason was the head man. He probably worked for the family, if you know what I'm talking about. And he had the motel. He ran the motel here. He had one across town. And I was in there eating one night with this beautiful lady, and Zig and Leo came up and asked me, did I want to do a gig with them. So I thought they were just clowning, bro, saying something because I had this beautiful chick, man. You know, guys. So I'm thinking they did that, but I said, okay, meet me for practice. Then I practiced with them, and I remember trying to sing a song called Love Song. I forgot who made that song.
Let me look it up. Hold on.
Oh, God. He's the lead singer for LTD. After he left, Jeffrey Osborne.
Of course.
So I sung a little bit for him. But I wasn't cocky, bro. I didn't have the self-confidence. Leo and Zig said, "No, bro, you can sing, bro. We heard you sing before." And they have, because I was singing stuff by Tower and Power, like Can't You See? That was a nice song for David Batiste.
Oh, my God. I need to hear. That is so great.
Yeah. And so I sung. And so we did our first gig at a college up in Hammond. And it was with Mass Production and Confunction and a whole bunch of other people that weekend before we left to go to Saturday Night Live. We did that big college gig. And I still don't know what's going on. Where's Arthur? I still don't know. Because we always used to sit in and play with each other at clubs. So Leo would come sit in with David Batiste and the Gladiators, or Zig would come play with us. Or David would come sit in with Zig and them at Ivanhoe that they were playing on Bourbon.
Sure.
Play the organ and stuff. So I didn't know what was happening. But I found out later that Art and Cyril had left the Meters to form the Neville Brothers with Charles and Aaron. And so Warner Brothers put the Meters on Saturday Night Live. They were supposed to do it before with the Rolling Stones or something like that, and the hurricane came and knocked something out, the Meters from doing it. So the only person on the planet funky enough to actually sit in and play on national TV,
dude,
the biggest gig that they ever did in the history of going on TV and doing anything for the Meters, was Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, no, you're right, because that was right around the time that Chief Jolly got all the Neville brothers together and said, you're doing good stuff, but it'd be a lot stronger if you all got together. And so they formed the Neville, and then brother David Batiste gets the nod to go with the Meters. That, to me, is like...
Yep. And I had no information what was happening to Art, except David wants you to play. And after we did Mass Production gig and everything went so well, I got this plane ticket and said we're going to New York.
So it was Mass Production, Confunction, and the Meters playing in Alabama.
Yeah, it might have been at Nicholls State. And it was in Louisiana. It was at a college.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you're on your way back. You're going back to New York. Did you? I mean, you remember vividly the young, at the Ivanhoe, like before the Meters, Leo and Art, they'd come check you guys out.
Yeah, we right. That's how we would do it, bro.
That's so beautiful, man. No, I'm just saying, like, this is so important, dude. Because when Russell told me about you, I'm like, I got to be honest, David. I don't know nothing. I'm just a blind monk stumbling into grace. But as a journalist, I take pride in like knowing. And I was like, totally blown away, and by the Gladiators. And like you, I'm just saying, cats were coming. The cats that everybody thinks started the groove and the funk were coming to see you guys who actually started that stuff.
Yeah. Everybody that said, "Hey, man," because Funky Soul came out before Sissy Struck.
Yeah, like 5 years before. Like how many years before?
Yeah, I couldn't honestly tell you at this moment. But it came out before that, and we were doing funk stuff, and we were going into that same studio that these guys were going to. We had no idea, man, that these producers was watching us, listening to our music. Taking stuff from our stuff, man, good Lord. As I said, but that, for me, spiritually, I think God wanted me to be here talking to you today.
Hey, man, no, I mean, David, I was just going to say, man, you know what? It was just the way it was supposed to be, man.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
Hey, I was going to say, can we do set 2 this time next week?
This time next week, next Tuesday, okay, because by the way, I just come for my dental thing.
Yeah.
I told the dentist I had to do this, and regular dental cleaning and that kind of stuff.
He didn't give you any nitrous, or anything.
That he hooked me up and got me out of there.
Dude, honestly, I had an absolute.
I was driving away from the dentist's office when you called.
I just want to say, man, it is the highest honor. All glory to, higher power, because this was definitely meant to be, man. And I'll call you Monday and remind you for set 2 on Tuesday.
Yeah, please do. And don't forget to have the people go watch the movie A Stranger Story, the story about John Jeffrey Batiste.
I'm gonna go right now, baby.
One experience my dad had, and my father, while I used to be working with him on houses and doing things because he had a dental contracting business, he told me about the story that happened to him, that affected him, that made and on his dying bed, he told his producer by my brother James' house in Denver, who's produced movies and stuff, and he was my brother's friend, and his name is Alonzo. And he told that to Alonzo, and Alonzo said, "Hell, man, we need to do a movie on that. We need to do a short film right quick." And could you tell me that again, Mr. Batiste? He said, "Yeah, I can tell you the truth. I don't have to make up anything. This is what happened." And it happened, The Man Who Murdered Himself. Wow, my dad told me the whole story, man, and he just said, "Man, wow." He said that. He said he was sitting right next to me, David, and he said, "F with me, man, for a long time."
Huh.
That I was sitting here talking to him, and thinking maybe I could have did something to help, But you got to see the short film. They did a heck of a job, man.
Hey, man, I just want to listen. I just want to get.
Story we're going to do about the piano.
Yeah, no, dude. Set 2, we got a lot more. The whole brother, we got a lot more to do. But this was a great starting point. Bless you, brother.
Bless you. Bless my son Russell for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, man, I knew it. This is.
He checks on me every day. He checks on me like I'm a kid.
This is the all.
Hey, where the hell are you? He said, "Okay, you good." Boom. That's it. You just call and tell me. I love it. I love it when you call up and they say, "What the fuck you doing?" I love it. I love it.
And yo, much love to you, man. I'll call you next week.
Be blessed. Give my love to everybody that's listening.
All right, much love, dude. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.